Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying the Fatal Feuds series. While that series was made in 2016, this update was recorded in January of 2019 to inform you about some major changes coming in the podcast. If you're working your way chronologically through the podcast, you still have plenty of content ahead of you before you reach current releases. After Fatal Feuds finishes, you'll have the Mamtrasa Murders, a murder mystery from the 1880s to get through, and then a show called Letters from Dakota, which was based on my grandaunt's letters, who was an emigrant to Dakota in the early 20th century. And then you'll have what has been the most popular series to date, and one I'm still making, that's on the Great Famine of the 1840s. However, as I write this, the end of the Great Famine series is on the horizon, and I'm planning my new series. After much consideration, this is going to be on the Irish War of Independence. Now for this I have a pretty ambitious plan that will change the podcast a bit. I'm not going to make a straightforward blow-by-blow history of the war, but instead I'd like to make something richer that focuses on just 6 or perhaps 8 lesser known figures. These will be people most of you will never have heard of, and over the course of an entire series you'll get to know them, their lives, and see why they were involved in the War of Independence and what they did. I think this structure will give us a good chance to get to grips with life in Ireland in 1919 to 1921 with a somewhat different spin to standard histories. This plan is ambitious, and while it may not be obvious, the level of research involved in creating something like this will be far more than previous series, precisely because the individuals are lesser known. Now, to do this correctly, to do justice to these people and their stories, to be honest, I think I need to hire a part-time researcher to help me. Since I started the podcast back in 2010, I've done all the research, the production, the recording and editing myself. But my plans for the coming year of 2019 will take it a step further, and that's a step I can't take on my own. Having the help of a researcher would help me create the show faster, but what's more important is that you will hear the difference that a researcher would make. The content will be better than it is now, and I'll also have the benefit of someone else's input. If I get to hire this researcher, I'll also restart a second podcast series, This Week in Irish History. This was something I actually launched with 6 episodes back in 2018, but as I often do, I underestimated the time involved and the work needed. With the help of a researcher, it will be a regular fortnightly show that will be available to you as well. Now, all my work is funded by listeners like you who have become patrons of the show at patreon.com/Irish podcast. And to hire the researcher, I've set a new target at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Irish podcast. With the generosity of current show patrons, they're just other listeners like you, I have already reached 75% of the target, and now I'm asking you to help me get over that line. If you've ever thought of supporting the show, this is the time to do it. You can help me take the whole podcast to a new level, and in return, you'll be getting even better shows. If you enjoy what I do and like the sound of these plans, you can help me now by becoming a show patron at patreon.com/Irish podcast. It's really easy to sign up, and you decide what you want to give, and you can cancel whenever you want. Patrons also get early access to the show, episode guides, exclusive podcasts only available on Patreon. There's hours of extra material there now. And from now on, all patrons get 10% off tours I organise and a 10% discount in an online shop that will be opening in the coming months. So to get all this and to help make the show even better than it is now, sign up today at patreon.com/Irish podcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Irish podcast. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of Fatal Feuds and the other series to come. And until next time, Slán.